Hi, everyone. I recently got a question from a reader. Am I going to incorporate the coronavirus into my fiction? And that's a good question, and I have both a short and a long answer to it. So, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while since I uploaded something. Today is March 30th, 2020. My name is Tom Fowler. So, the question was, am I going to incorporate the coronavirus into my fiction? If you are not familiar with my stories, they are mysteries and thrillers. They are contemporary, so they are set in modern day, generally around when the books have been published, starting in 2017. And certainly, the coronavirus is dominating world headlines and world events. My short answer is not really. And the long answer is I think people read fiction for entertainment and escape. And certainly you could find stories entertaining. People are still selling, people are watching movies like Pandemic and Outbreak and things like that. And I'm sure there are dystopian and post apocalyptic books that are selling pretty well still. And good for those creators. That's not something I particularly want to read right now. But like I said, I think people read fiction for entertainment and escape. And while those things may have universal entertainment value, it's hard to escape from something like coronavirus news cycles if you're reading something that features any kind of terrible virus or plague or whatever. So I'm really not going to build anything in about it. Now, going back to some of my books, Inside Cut is actually set in the month of March of this year. It came out late last year, so it's a little bit ahead of when it came out. But it features college basketball, and of course, there was no NCAA tournament this year. For a while, they thought they were going to run it with no fans, then they just canceled the whole thing. So there's just no college basketball tournament, even though that book has a college basketball tournament in it. The next book, the most recent one, The Next Girl, which just recently came out, is set in May, and who knows what the world is going to look like in 5 weeks' time. I have no idea. But again, when I wrote it, I had no idea that the coronavirus would be the thing that it is. And the book I'm working on now, number nine, is set a little bit later in the year, actually in the fall, where if you've been following the books, you know of Vincent Davenport, whom I wanted to keep around as an antagonist for CT. He is running for mayor of Baltimore, and we find out the results of that election in the next book, the ninth book. So that's November. And I don't know what the world's going to look like in November either. I don't think anyone does. So, is it possible CT could make some kind of a snarky comment about social distancing? Maybe, and if he does, that'll be the extent of how I bring the coronavirus into my fiction. Now, I've talked about writing a new thriller series starting later this year, and the protagonist there is a little older and has a teenage daughter who is going to college, and colleges are all online right now. And I was planning on setting it probably in the spring, so around now. And by now, any school around here, for the most part, has moved all online for the spring semester. I expect summer semesters, if they hold them, will be online too. And for the fall, who knows? So I will have to. I've written an early draft, a very first draft, and that will have to the college aspect. I think I'll have to modify a little bit. I'm not going to hit anybody over the head with, "Oh, I can't go to school because of the coronavirus and blah blah blah," because I don't want to put it in your face. It is the escapism of fiction, and you know the main character and his daughter might make a reference to classes being online and she doesn't get to go live on campus or something like that. But that'll be the extent of it. For the most part, I'm going to keep this pandemic out of my stories, other than maybe an occasional reference, and that'll be the extent of it. So thanks for that question. I think it's a good question, and I think it's one that authors of contemporary fiction will need to address in their own ways. I'm sure not everyone shares my opinion that if you read fiction for escape, you don't want to read about current events which, might be upsetting you. So I'm going to keep it out of my stories for the most part, maybe other than an occasional reference. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.